Guys, if you do a Google search for the Electric Viking, you'll find one of the top negative results for me is a forum post about my comments about the Volkswagen Group. Clearly people who own Volkswagen Group vehicles, whether that's Audi or Volkswagen, Skoda, they're furious and they're really, really angry, and they're saying that I'm making stuff up about the Volkswagen Group. Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately for them, everything I said turned out to be absolutely correct. I know this makes it sound like I'm blowing my own horn. I'm not. I was simply pointing out the obvious, that these people are unable to accept because they love their brand so much. Emotion is clouding their judgment. Elon Musk, in fact, a few days ago, said this. He said, where is the Volkswagen Group going to get $5 billion to invest in Rivian? Now, a lot of people didn't take this seriously. A lot of people thought Elon Musk was just being a hater. He was being a negative person, basically, slandering the opposition. However, if that were the case, why the hell did the CFO of the Volkswagen Group just come out and say that Volkswagen has only 1 or maybe maximum 2 years to save the brand? That's a literal quote. 1, maybe 2 years to save the brand. Guys, if I was speaking with hyperbole, which some people say was the case, why is the Volkswagen Group's chief financial officer basically agreeing with what I said? Why is Elon Musk agreeing with what I said? It seems to me that if you disagree now that the Volkswagen Group are in serious trouble, you are really on a ship all on your own here. You're just really one of those people who doesn't want to accept the fact that disruption is happening. As even the Volkswagen Group are saying it themselves. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to see you. I'm sure you've seen the news here. Multiple headlines. Volkswagen's ex-CEO facing jail over Dieselgate 9 years after the scandal. Volkswagen CEO Oliver Blume takes on unions as job cuts loom. Many thousands will be lost. Many thousands of jobs in Germany will be lost. Volkswagen defends possible German factory closures. Says weak sales. 2 plants are empty. 2 plants. 2 entire factory plants are empty. Now, I thought these were assets, right? Are these assets on Volkswagen's books? They are. So if you're looking at Volkswagen's share price, you're going, oh, look at all the assets they've got. That's what Seeking Alpha would tell you. Oh, whoa, look at all these assets. Look at these great assets. It actually doesn't take into account at all the fact that 2 of them are just sitting idle, not producing cars. Volkswagen faces union fury over factory closures in Germany. And they fired the previous CEO. They fired their CEO because he said that they had to fire people in Germany. The Volkswagen Group could not sustain having a debt of $190 billion, which it still has, by the way. In fact, I believe that debt's grown. $190 billion. It has to finance that debt. It's going to pay. Imagine this. Imagine you had a house worth, you paid $190 billion for it. It's like amazing. Yeah, it's producing stuff. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. But you've got to remember, you've got to pay off that mortgage. That's essentially what the Volkswagen group have to do for $190 billion of debt. But the majority of that debt is what? It's debt on internal combustion engine car factories. Not making EVs, on internal combustion engine car factories. Which factories in Germany could be lost? I mean, there's speculation on that. There's talking about which factories those are. And this is really, here's the thing, getting worse, because the Volkswagen Group, they say that they need to invest in fact, they said they were going to invest $200 billion into becoming an EV manufacturer, primarily EVs, plug-in hybrids, EVs, like BYD. Basically, the Volkswagen Group say, okay, we're going to become the next BYD. The next BYD, isn't that crazy? But that's what their goal is. We're going to take on Geely. Geely, the fastest growing brand in the world right now. Why? Because they're selling EVs. More than 100% growth in EV sales. So the Volkswagen Group know they need to do this. But then they go and invest billions of dollars into XPeng, into SAIC Motors. Audi is now going to use SAIC Motors EV platforms. They buy a software company for $2 billion in China. And then they've got factories having to close in Germany because their costs are too high. They invest $5 billion into Rivian in the United States. Elon Musk tweets this comment. He says, where will they get the money? In response to Holmar's catalog, who says Volkswagen is going to save Rivian. Woohoo. $5 billion investment. Also, Volkswagen is so broke, they want to shut down their own factories in Germany. Now, if all of this sounds a little bit hyperbolic, well, Arno Antlitz, who is the chief financial officer, who also said that there is a fire at the Volkswagen Group. He said the factory is on fire. When he said the factory, he was referencing the business. He was saying the business is on fire and it's a crisis. He used that exact word, crisis. So maybe what I was saying wasn't actually all that outrageous. In fact, I just said it before he said it, about a year before he said it. Arno Antlitz outlined Volkswagen's dire situation to workers angry at the Volkswagen Group's decision to close 2 plants in order to cut costs. Because, well, obviously these staff at the Volkswagen Group, they're saying, hey, a minute, you're investing all these billions of dollars into Rivian, all these billions of dollars into China. Why not Germany? Well, here's the thing. Germany is expensive. Labor is expensive in Germany. Car production is expensive and it's inefficient. The Volkswagen Group do not efficiently manufacture EVs. Their CEO said that himself. Right? Herbert D. said it takes them 3 times as long to manufacture an EV versus Tesla. 3 times longer. That is an enormous cost burden. Volkswagen's finance chief said it has only 1 or 2 years to turn the brand around. Arno Antlitz spelled out the serious nature of Volkswagen's situation to workers during a meeting at the firm's Wolfsburg headquarters, telling them sales won't return ever to pre-COVID levels. Why? Well, because the Volkswagen Group are not going to suddenly turn things around in China. They appear to be accepting the reality now that that's never going to happen again. The billions of dollars of cash pouring in from China, it's ended. It's ending. The automaker says it will have to close 2 plants in Germany, the first closures in its history, to cut costs in the face of a 500,000 unit reduction in annual demand. Now, the Volkswagen Group are not really telling you the full story. They're saying a 500,000 unit reduction in annual demand now. But what about in 2 years? What about in 3 years? What about in 4 years? The automotive industry, the pie is shrinking. It's only going to get smaller, right? The number of cars being sold worldwide is going to shrink. This is a zero-sum game. And you've got all these automakers from China who are taking a bigger share of the pie. What does that mean? Well, it's inevitable that the Volkswagen Group will continue to lose sales. So this is not just 500,000 unit reduction. We're talking millions in unit reductions over the next few years. And I believe the group are coming to accept that reality. There's not much they can do about that. If you look past the Golf is 50 celebrations, you'll find that at Volkswagen, they're admitting they're in a legitimate crisis. Antlitz explained to those present at the meeting that the European car market has contracted since the pandemic and was unlikely to return to heady pre-COVID levels anytime soon. But there's also the recognition that the Volkswagen Group sales in China are declining. It's a terminal decline for legacy automakers in China. I think pretty much every major brand is now accepting that reality. This drop in demand and slower than anticipated EV take-up of their EVs. Now keep in mind, EV sales have grown 23% this year, but not legacy automaker EVs. It's been EVs from companies like Zeekr, to be fair. Their sales have grown 100%. Various Chinese automakers, their sales have grown. Leap Motor, their sales have skyrocketed recently. In addition, Volkswagen say they'll sell around 500,000 fewer cars in a year, potentially 1 million the following year. They have a maximum of 2 years to cut output and reduce costs to steady the ship. The group have invested billions into software, and it appears to me now that they are hoping the XPeng software will essentially help them to fix their software problems. They'll simply use that. There's a joint venture now between XPeng and Volkswagen Group. We know XPeng software is well known in China to be one of the best, and the Volkswagen Group hope that that'll fix that cost. They've bled billions of dollars when it comes to their software development costs, and their return on investment's been very low because they've had huge problems. That's the reason why the sales of their electric cars in America have fallen so fast. The ID4 sales have fallen so fast because customers have been really irritated by their software. And even the Volkswagen CEO in North America said the same thing. So this will be the first time ever that the Volkswagen Group has closed 2 factories or even 1 factory in its entire history. We're talking, 100 years. They've never done this before. And instead of closing 1, which would be record-breaking, they're closing 2. Volkswagen's employees in Germany are obviously furious about the closure talk. They believe that they're going to strike. IG Metall, the union, are warning of striking. Of course, the thing is, there are no more checks coming from China, said the CEO. That's a direct quote. That's not a Sam Evans Electric Viking quote. That's direct. There are no more checks coming from China, said the CEO of Oliver Bloom at the meeting in Wolfsburg. That was a few days ago. A reference to Volkswagen's struggles to compete with better priced and better product EVs in China. And well, that was once a multi-billion dollar cash cow for the group. I've mentioned this many times. A lot of people say this. I've seen this comment hundreds of times. Oh, China doesn't matter for the Volkswagen Group. They won't care. These morons are utterly silly and make themselves, well, they're embarrassing to listen to, because the Volkswagen Group's profits over the last 10 years, 50% of the entire group's profits on average came from China. 50%. 40% of their sales were in China, 50% of their profits. So they're making more profit per unit sold in China than any other country in the world. And if they were to lose that profit, that cash cow, we're talking half of the company's finances, half of them. If you have nearly $200 billion in debts, if most of your factories producing internal combustion cars, if you're having to shut some of them down, and your cash cow is ending, you are in a crisis. The automotive industry has changed massively in the volume segment in just a few years, said Bloom. Together we will implement appropriate measures to become more profitable. We are leading Volkswagen back to where the brand belongs. That is a responsibility of all of us. That sounds more like a plea than a reality. That sounds more like a hope, a wish, than an actual, real plan. The Volkswagen Group right now are all platitudes. They're talking to their staff. They're saying, oh, we're in trouble, but we're going to do this. We're going to save ourselves. How? What will they do? If you were the CEO of this group, what would you do? Thanks for watching.